October 28th at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. There's New York again. A lot going on here in New York. They are going to hold, for the first time ever in WWE, an all-women's pay-per-view.
I like this. I'll tell you what, though. Anyone remember, like, we have grown so much from the days of, remember when Vince wanted to film his daughter's pregnancy and then do a storyline where the baby was his? Well, I mean, we've grown so much. We've done a lot of growing. Anyways, let me switch gears for a second. Yeah, I like to listen to Solly Monster. So, the thing I actually really want to talk about is there's a rumour that's been going around, right? And it's about Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, for all of you who probably know, was a former UFC fighter. He appeared on The Ultimate Fighter. I remember him actually because he was trying to stop a fight between two people in the house. Then he fought in the UFC for a bit. He had 2 no contests because he likes to do a bit of that. But I think he really started to come along around 2012 because he technically had a 5-fight winning streak and was slowly starting to move into like the potential top 10 for his weight class. I think he was a welterweight if I remember right. And then he was dropped by the UFC, and I think it had a lot to do with the weed smoke. I need to clarify that one. Anyways, Matt Riddle was a big wrestling fan and gave wrestling a whirl. And I never would have imagined that the guy with the weirdly dyed hair in The Ultimate Fighter would become what he has become. So I have watched and I've heard a lot, and I listen to what goes on. I like to keep tabs on everything, even though you don't see me as much. I keep tabs on everything, and I kept on hearing about how much of a natural Matt Riddle was, and people telling me he looks like he could be related to one of the Von Erichs, and he wrestles in terms of like natural talent and picking it up. It's like watching another Kurt Angle, and I thought, well, okay, come on, that's lofty praise. You said he's got the physical appearance of a Von Erich, but he's as smooth and as much a natural as a Kurt Angle. So of course I've tuned in and I've watched him at Evolve, and I've seen him wrestle Keith Lee, another excellent talent who's now apparently there, which is great. And I watched him and I was like, oh wow, everybody seems to be right. This guy's really good. Comes out, he looks more like Kevin Von Erich in terms of the fact he comes out with no shoes on and all of that. But then he has a bit of like that kind of Kerry Von Erich like charisma, so it's a bit of a thing I've said there. And he does have a lot of charisma, he's got a great physique. And he's got that instant credibility because he's had a legit shoot fight, mixed martial arts background. And there is always that air, that aura that those guys have, especially the ones that successfully transition from one to pro wrestling, like we're seeing with Ronda Rousey, like we have seen Kurt Angle from Olympic wrestling, and Brock Lesnar with collegiate wrestling. Apparently Cain Velasquez had a tryout too. But back to the point, Matt Riddle really developed quite a reputation. I mean, I'd seen him, I know he had actually had a tryout with the WWE, and he was referred to Evolve because I know that they have a working relationship, and he has definitely become one of the standout elite wrestlers on the independent scene outside of the WWE, alongside names like Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, who's revitalized his career in a lot of ways, Jeff Cobb, another one, names you wouldn't expect me to be saying here, but I'm saying them because these guys are all really, really talented. The Young Bucks, another group, but Matt Riddle is really standing out, and a lot of people are saying he's such a natural talent, somebody needs to sign him. Now, I'm surprised that New Japan never signed him, because he's the kind of talent I think that they would want, especially with their history of wanting, those kind of shoot-based guys going to their promotion. I mean, they had a history of that, and I could see them wanting that, and I would love to see him in there with Minoru Suzuki, but, that would be interesting, or even Okada would be great too, my favourite Japanese wrestler. And considering New Japan want to expand and grow and really, do things in Europe as well as in America, and the things that they're doing with Kenny Omega at the moment, and the offshoots like All In, which is an independent show but got New Japan talent on it, I think that possibly one of the reasons now that there's more interest at any time than before is partly because they see that New Japan are growing. Obviously WWE have had some things with Ring of Honor recently, which I need to look into, and it doesn't surprise me now that they see this and then they go, right, who is available, who really is a free agent, and who can we get for NXT before somebody else gets him? Because I'll tell you what, if he goes to New Japan, be very fascinating to see what happens there. Though I think if he has a run in New Japan, becomes more successful, he can negotiate a bigger contract with WWE, but he's not getting any younger. He's 32 maybe, 32, 33 I think. So you got to get him in while you can. So do I absolutely buy these rumours? Yeah. But do I think he's signed? We don't know. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he's signed, because we know that apparently he's been taken off some shows. He's now in some other matches against NXT related talent, and he's been taken off some other things around August. Apparently he's going to be around nearby where the SummerSlam weekend's going to be, which means more than likely, if it's going to be announced, it will be announced as a surprise at NXT TakeOver, where, you know, they like to do the thing where every time they have signed somebody, whether it's the revitalized, and much credit to the man Drew McIntyre, or Bobby Roode, or EC3 for that matter, they've always had them in the crowd, and then they put the camera on them, and it's pretty much announced right there and then, that's your new guy that's signed with the company. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen, although he was at an NXT TakeOver behind Tyler Bate, of all people. Now, him going to NXT, I think he'd be a natural fit there, considering the accumulation of talent that they have got there, and considering that they have been constantly trying to rebuild that roster, because it seems like every few months NXT gets raided and the talent goes to the main roster. We've seen American Alpha go over there, we've seen Finn Balor on the main roster, we have seen Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, the list goes on, Hideo Itami, which really hasn't kind of been what it could have been, which is unfortunate. But we have seen that as these guys go to the main roster, they need to start bringing in more people. And I can see Matt Riddle pretty much being the most over guy in NXT. I mean, I would love to see him and Roderick Strong, a guy that I'm very critical of in terms of promos, but excellent wrestler nonetheless. Him and Roderick Strong, him and Adam Cole, that would be very interesting. Him and Aleister Black, him and Tommaso Ciampa, him and Johnny Gargano. I mean, that would be pure fire, as the kids say. That would be pure fire. And I know that he could really, really set NXT on fire. I mean, he could be the face of NXT in the same way that Finn Balor was when he was signed to WWE to join NXT, and I could see him basically taking the spot that Balor had left eventually. And that's what I could see happening. The only thing that concerns me is when they go to the main roster, and we have seen this with guys in NXT who have been superstars and done really, really well in NXT, and it makes you excited to see them on the main roster, and it's been mixed results, right? Because, okay, I could pretty much say that Kevin Owens, I think, has done very, very well, all things considered. He had a top program with John Cena, heavily featured on Raw and SmackDown. You know, he's done well. Sami Zayn got a little bit lost in the shuffle, but he's done okay. Shinsuke Nakamura, depending on who you ask, I mean, I think he's doing really well as a heel right now, but there was that period in the summer where, and some of it was him too, where he was, you know, giving you stuff, but not what you expect him to give you, basically, based on all the hype. Then you have things like Finn Balor, where he's been very up and down. Balor came in really hot on Raw, beat Roman Reigns, which obviously I reacted to like a madman. Then he got injured, won the title, got injured, came back, and it's kind of been like, you know, somewhere along the middle. So we've seen it's kind of been a bit up and down for Finn Balor. We've seen Bobby Roode, who was an absolute superstar in NXT, and then look what happened. He's kind of tapered off. He's not what he was, and he's just treading water right now. Samoa Joe's done very well, of course, but that's what I mean. There's been these mixed results, and it makes me a little bit nervous for Matt Riddle. But then I hope that they do right by him. And I think, I would love to see then again, look at Chad Gable as well. Gable and Jordan, both very talented, treading water. Well, Jordan's not even been on TV since his injury. But that's what I mean, these mixed results, it makes me nervous. But I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible, and seeing him on the main roster, seeing him in there with Samoa Joe, seeing him in there with AJ Styles, seeing him in there with, just for the sake of a standard wrestling match, Chad Gable, seeing him in there with Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, seeing him in there with Daniel Bryan. That's I might have to stop right there. Seeing him in there with Kurt Angle. Good lord. So I think I'm going to need to stop right there before I get too carried away. But you let me know what you think. Are the rumours true? Are you familiar with Matt Riddle? Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. Comment down below. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. And I will be back very, very soon.